Hi, I'm Robin Da Vinci. I'm hoping you're well, and I want to talk about something that is extremely important. I want to say this for you to hear. We are a walking resume. When you are a walking resume, everything you've accomplished in your life is a resume, and everything that you've done in your life could go on a resume. You could have a resume that is 55 pages long based on all the things you've accomplished in your private life, when you were a kid, as you were growing up, what you did in college. Oh my goodness. We all are a walking resume. So when you get up every morning, you say, wow, I am a resume. What do I want on there today? This is really a general look at who you are and what's going on. And so when we get together and when we talk about ourselves, we often talk about our achievements and things we've accomplished and what we would like to do and where we would like to be in our life. And yet we don't do that. And we're sitting still and we're doing one job when our brain says, I could do so much more, or I could be out there. So in general, your resume is what you want to present to the world on what you've accomplished. And a lot of times what we do is we do a tombstone resume that says on January 1st to 2012 to December 31st, 2016, I did this at this company. But you don't say resume, you don't boast. You don't say when I was doing that job, they got an increase of sales, or the team worked more smoothly, or we found new systems. We all downplay what we did. We just say, I did this, but you don't say, how did that make everything better? How did I make that company better? People want to know that. And you need to believe that about yourself. You need to go into your resume and say, maybe I need to look at this again and see if I put the full measure of what I accomplished at that job in that resume. When you just list what you did, but you don't list the results of what you did, that is a really difficult thing for someone who gets your resume to look at. They say, okay, well, they were an AP clerk, or they were the financial director, or they were the assistant manager of the grocery store. But what they really want to know is, how did you affect a change at the place you worked, and how did you make that place a better place? That's what they want to know. So when you're presenting yourself every day, because you are, as I said, a walking resume, we're all walking, breathing resumes, think about the result of what you've done, the result of you being in that position, the result of you working for that company, the result of that education. What did you learn? Who did you help? What did you do during that time? Just to make that resume a stronger picture of what you can accomplish. Don't do what my husband refers to as a tombstone resume, because nothing will jump out of the page that will attract your possible new employer. And all the time, even if you're in a job that you love, always make sure your resume reflects what you're doing. The minute you get a promotion, go in, say what caused that promotion. Go ahead, let them know. If you're in the middle of a job and you get a new promotion, take a moment, sit down, look at your resume. And people say, well, I don't have a resume. Everyone should have a resume. You're probably saying, Robin, you're crazy. I do janitorial work. Good for you. Do you know how important janitorial work is? Where's your resume? That means, what is the information? Let's say you're 37 years old, 42 years old. What have you accomplished? Make it robust. Make it be you. Be proud of yourself. Be impressed by yourself so someone will be impressed with you too. That is so urgent to do. So now that I've told you that you are a walking resume, now you don't have any words across your chest, but if I did, I'd have to start at the top of my head and do tiny little print all the way down to my toes to say all that I think I've accomplished in this life that people don't know. Oh, they don't know that you did that. Oh my goodness, that adds such depth to your resume, because you're now telling me that you did this. That when you were there, you put in a whole new system, supplies, and a whole new way of filing. People want to know that. They want to know that you have initiative. Go ahead, tell them. Go ahead, make your resume be proud of you. Your resume should reflect who you are. Now, the second more detailed and difficult thing is if you've been laid off and you've lost your job and you have to reinvent yourself. When you have to reinvent yourself, that means you need to look at your life experience and present it in a whole new fashion. You need to, I did this for an escrow company. I did this at a bank. I did this at a tech company. And you have to take that out and look at it and put in more how you managed. Did you manage people? Can you manage people? Can you bring a sense of leadership somewhere? If you've managed a team in tech, you can manage a team at a grocery store. You can manage a team in a dental office. You can manage a team. If you managed to run a small company before and it went out of business, you have skill that other people don't have. But what you need to do is you need to reinvent that skill and say, I took a startup from here to in 10 years and I brought this to the party and I interacted with people all the time and I networked. I know how to network. I brought in a computer system. You cannot just list where you worked. You have to take the richness of the job you lived and you have to take that livelihood and you have to reinvent it to match the new market. The new market is more interested in what have you done for me lately. So they're not going to be interested maybe in a job you worked at for 15 years and got laid off, but there's richness in those 15 years. You got up every day, you ran a family, you got your kids to school, you got to your job, you went to your kids' soccer practices, you and your husband were part of PTA, you and your husband did charity work, or you did charity work with your friends. All of that needs to be known now that you've been laid off. You need to go into that and reinvent the richness of what you've actually learned. In that 15 years, you just weren't getting up and going to a job and coming home. You were doing a million other things, and those million other things count. They count for a lot, but they don't show up on a resume unless you tell them. Be prepared in your cover letter of your resume. I know they used to say don't send a cover letter, but there can be two or three short paragraphs on who you are, so that makes them want to go to the next page that lists all you've accomplished. Don't sit around and say, oh, I only did this job for 15 years. What did you learn inside there? Did you have to deal with a difficult manager? Did you have to fire someone? Were you someone that everybody relied on? Those things matter. Those should not be left out of a resume anymore if you've been laid off. They need to be brought to the surface as you're reinventing yourself for this new world that doesn't necessarily care about what job you did 10 years ago, but they care about the kind of person you are. So remember that in this new reinvention of your life, when you're going for work, that people are actually wanting to know what kind of person you are. I tell you on your resume that if you have a YouTube channel, if you have a Facebook, they're going to look for that. So your employer no longer just has to go by what you say on this document. They're going to search your social media. They're going to ask questions about your belief system. They're going to want to know more about you. So if they do a deep dive into you, is what they find going to match what you're presenting? You want to make sure they're not out of sync, because if they find some radical thing over here and you're presenting something else in your reinvention, you're going to get in trouble. So as you're reinventing yourself for this new world and you're creating a resume after getting laid off from a job after 15 years or 10 years or 5 years, you need to bring the core of who you are into that resume. And if you have trouble with that, then you need to look at yourself and see, what kind of opinion do I have of the work I've been doing? Because if you can't find richness in this new self, in this reinvention, and you have all of these opinions on Facebook and things, it has to be integrated into this solid person who now needs to go out into the market and say, I'm worthy because I have a lot of experience. Because you know what? We can train someone to do anything, but if they're not the right person, you don't want to hire them. And you want to be the person people want to hire. So also in your reinvention, look at your job history. If you've changed jobs a lot, you want to look at how to work that. Like if you did contracting work for 5 different people over 7 years, you want to run that 7 years and say contract work for, and then you put it, but you don't go date to date, because it looks like you job jump. These are how you reinvent yourself. If you have done contracting work for 7 years to be an employee again, you make that contract work sing. You say, for 7 years, I was hitting the pavement and I did this kind of contract work. I accomplished this. I brought this to those people. Remember, when you're reinventing yourself, you're allowed to believe in yourself and you're allowed to take that experience and make it work for you. You don't have to embellish because I know the richness is there. But look at yourself differently. If you're 15 years older than you were when you got that first job, you have accomplished a lot in that 15 years, and you need to make sure someone knows that. So remember, reinventing yourself sometimes is really valuable, but in this particular job market, reinventing yourself is necessary. So I hope this helps, and thank you so much, and like and subscribe, and I will see you again soon.